Hello everyone, and welcome back at long last to Scumbag System, or Scum Villain Self-Saving System, a book we started reading last month because the TV show was coming out. Got a little busy with Halloween, but we're going to continue it, and we are going to finish watching the show probably sometime this weekend. I think the final episode comes out soon. I'm very excited to see it because I saw some stills from it, and it was really sad, but I think it's gonna be good. Hello, let's see, Jeff, Julie, Don, Nacho, Daniel. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We are on Chapter 10, but before we get started, thought I'd show you guys some cool stuff I got in the mail. China has a website called Taobao, which sells merchandise, a lot of which is merchandise for the various books and TV shows that are so popular over there, and to buy them where I am, hello, thank you, Gandalf, you have to buy them through a proxy and wait a whole time, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, I bought merchandise, and it arrived over the weekend. So, first off, we have some keychains. I attached them together, and they hang from my ceiling. But, there is our Shen Qingqiu, and his Luo Binghe, this is his demon form, which we haven't seen in the TV show yet. Gandalf likes these. He thinks these are fun. Are you gonna attack these, buddy? Yeah? Say, I don't know, those kind of look like a toy to me. These are super cute. I really love these. And then there's this, like, interesting little standee that it kind of makes it look like it's popping out of the image. And again, this is Shen Qingqiu. He's one of my favorite fictional characters. I love him. He's so cute. And here's a plushie of Shen Qingqiu. Look at him. He's so cute. He's gonna hang out with us while we read now. He's my new best friend. Sorry, Gandalf. You're also my best friend. Hello, Zan and other folks joining us. When are we gonna do more Silmarillion? This week, we are going to finish the Silmarillion. I only didn't do it today because I get a lot more traffic on these videos. Web novels are very popular, and so I wanted to get back to reading those. We'll probably do 3 readings a week. 2 of them will probably be these web novels. Once we finish the Silmarillion, I think I'm going to start reading some horror, either Hideyuki Kikuchi, or I now have a copy of The Ring, which is the book that inspired the film, and I've read about halfway through, and it's so good. So good. We'll see what members want to read first. Hey, Akatsuki. I've already been working on the Persona 5 problem. I don't think I'm going to solve it this week because I have a lot of other crap going on, but I'm approaching that problem. Anyway, now that we've introduced my little friend, here, he can sit, like, right there. Oh my god, that's so freaking cute. There we go. Now you can see him and me. There we go. Alright, we are on Chapter 10 of Scum Villain's Self-Saving System. Hello, Josh. Hello, everybody. Thank you all for joining us. Hello, Iced Blaze. Alright, gotta stop saying hello. Hello, everyone. On to Chapter 10. Demon Girl's Provocation. So, I should probably, since it's been a while, last chapter, our hero, Shen Qingqiu, went into seclusion in a cave because he was going to train and get stronger, and he met Liu Qingge, who is the rival of his book character. They were not friends, but of course our hero, who's taken over the role, decided to become his friend, and instead of taking the chance to kill him, he saved his life. So now things have changed. He has changed the timeline. I cannot read the chat because Gandalf's head is in the way. Even though the person he'd worked so hard to save had treated him as disgusting, Shen Qingqiu was incomparably satisfied. Liu Qingge, who should have died by his hand, had been saved by him in a freak accident. If he could become friendly with this person, even if his plan to raise Luo Binghe into a top 10 best disciple didn't succeed, as the master of Baijian Peak, Liu Qingge could at least stand before him as a fellow sect sibling and shield him a little. Although this was a little utilitarian, as his own sorry life was on the line, it was all pointless discussion. There was no sense of time within the caves. Shen Qingqiu felt like he hadn't done anything at all when the day to exit his seclusion in Lingxi Caves arrived. Shen Qingqiu sat crossed-legged, eyes shut, on a stone platform and waited until the last shred of spiritual energy had finished circulating through all his limbs and bones before opening his eyes. Having intensively cultivated for several months, he could already control his spiritual energy freely. Oh, good lord. Yeah, let's just handle that real quick. Gandalf is watching the mouse. Here we go. Sorry about that. Having intensively cultivated for several months, he could already control his spiritual energy freely and had risen one level above his original cultivation base. This state proclaimed he'd already obtained 100% command over this body. Even the last shred of discoordination had been annihilated. Both of his eyes shone brightly, and his immortal figure was different from how it had been in the past. Shen Qingqiu jumped down from the stone platform, his body all the more lithe, as if his four limbs were instilled with a breeze filled with vigor. It's interesting. I think in the TV show they said that he was in there for a couple years at least, possibly to explain the time skip. I wonder how different the book is going to end up being, because he was only in the cave for a few months, it seems. Maybe I misunderstood the show. Of course, it was possible this was only his subjective feeling. After all, the days in seclusion had passed by so quickly, as if he jumped ahead in the video progress bar. If this were a novel and not a padded book like that of Great Master Airplanes, the writing would have been finished in one chapter. Before leaving, he thought he ought to greet his neighbor, so he knocked on the stone wall. "Shidi, how's your situation over there? Shishong will be leaving first." His voice echoed inside the empty cavern. It wasn't loud, but enough for a cultivator like Luo Binghe to hear clearly. As expected, there came no response. Shen Qingqiu didn't mind. Expressing his kind wishes was enough. With a sweep of his hem, he immediately exited the caves like the wind was beneath his feet to welcome the approaching storm. Calculating the time and date, it was about time for that. The upcoming story event was very important and could be considered early Proud Immortal Demon Way's first small climax. The demons arriving to provoke them, triggering a huge disturbance. Two important female leads in the book would also show a brief glimpse of themselves during this small climax and start paying attention to Luo Binghe. Should get my water, I just had a choke. Lingxi Caves was isolated from the outside world. Inside the cave was tranquil, but as soon as he exited, the entire Chongding Peak seemed to be filled with the fire and smoke of war. Panicked disciples were running around everywhere, and the alarm bells were ringing as one. Shen Qingqiu immediately understood. They'd already arrived! Perfect timing. He just happened to make it in time. As soon as they saw him, several disciples from some unknown peak threw themselves at him. Shen Shibo, you finally left seclusion! It's a disaster! Monsters from the demon realm snuck into Chongding Peak. Chongding Peak? I think I said it was Chongding Peak. I'm still writing down a list of all the things. I'm going to put it on this wall back here. I got distracted with Halloween. They injured quite a few of our sect siblings. Shen Qingqiu patted a disciple with each hand. Settle down. Where is Zhangmen Shishong? Disciple A said tearfully, Zhangmen Shibo left the mountain for something. Otherwise, how could the monsters from the demon race use this chance and invade us? Disciple B said furiously, the monsters from the demon race are truly despicable. Not only did they take advantage of our weakness to invade, they also severed all the rainbow bridges connecting the 12 peaks and set up some strange barrier. So right now, Chongding Peak is completely unable to receive support from other peaks. Shen Qingqiu knew all of this, and was just asking while passing through. The current him had gone through cultivation training, and on top of that, had experiences of punching Luo Binghe and kicking Luo Binghe. With a heroic spirit that reached the heavens, he said, no need to panic. Our Kangchong Mountain as a sect is majestic and unparalleled, and has produced great numbers of heroes. We would never fear these dregs from the demon realm. The disciples immediately felt they'd found their pillar of support, and followed behind Shen Qingqiu like a train. Along the way, the ones who'd originally been flailing around like headless flies also rushed to follow, and the ones who didn't know what had happened followed as well. In the end, the procession kept growing longer and longer until they arrived before Chongding Peak's main hall. Every single Kangchong Mountain Sect member on Chongding Peak had come forward to encircle and exterminate the demons that had entered deep within. Due to plot requirements, the disciples from Qingjing Peak were all coincidentally at Chongding Peak to greet Shen Qingqiu as he left seclusion, and had been gathered since earlier. Shen Qingqiu's first glance sought out Luo Binghe's form, and indeed saw him standing within the group, expression solemn. It had been some time since he'd last seen him. He'd grown taller by a fair amount, his youthful figure like a graceful, elongating stalk of bamboo. Along with that handsome little face, he drew much attention. Seeing the protagonist was at the scene, Shen Qingqiu's heart settled down and he turned to focus on his enemy. Before the elegant and magnificent Chongding Peak gathered more than 100 members of a foreign people, roiling with demonic qi, and the leader of this invasion was actually a young girl who appeared no more than 15 or 16. Shen Qingqiu's heart became a little excited. "She's appeared! She's finally appeared!" Demons loved exotic and unusual dress, but even among them, this girl's design was exceptionally unorthodox. Her jet black head of hair had been combed into many small braids. Her complexion was fair, her eye makeup bold, her lips abnormally scarlet. Although she was young, the glamorous and threatening bearing she would have in the future was apparent. As it was a hot day, she dressed coolly, having practically just wrapped several red bolts of gauzy cloth around herself. Her wrists and ankles were decorated with silver bangles, the tiny bells all over her body jingling with her slight movements. Her bare, snow-white feet directly touched the ground. Shen Qingqiu could not help side-eyeing, peeping at them once more. It wasn't due to an indecent mindset, but rather, "You've traveled thousands of miles from the demon realm, crossing over land and sea. After arriving, you climbed such a tall mountain barefoot. Young miss, do your feet really not hurt?" No, this wasn't the main point. The main point was, this was one of the most popular female leads in the novel of Proud Immortal Demon Way, Demon Saintess Xia Hualing. Xia Hualing was a pure-blood demon, vicious and merciless, crafty and proud, yet madly in love with Luo Binghe. After getting involved with Luo Binghe, not only did she kill for him, she even dared to do a disgraceful thing, like betraying the demons. Though this type of brainless lovesick girl was often denounced now, there was nothing to be done. A large number of male readers quite liked it. A pity such an exciting girl could only be enjoyed by the male lead. Shen Qingqiu couldn't help glancing at Luo Binghe. At the same time, Luo Binghe also inadvertently swept his gaze over. Their two eyes met, and both of them immediately startled. Luo Binghe was about to speak, but said nothing. Shen Qingqiu rushed to nod. Gandalf is literally positioned right in front of the chat. I cannot see anything. I'm gonna have to move this dumb baby. Dumb baby, why don't you come sit on the back of the chair with, Shen Qingqiu? Go up here. There you go. Hey, folks. Alright, where's my... Here we go. At this time, the rainbow bridges had been severed. So for the peak lords of the various peaks, the ones sleeping kept sleeping, the ones in seclusion remained in seclusion, the ones strolling around kept strolling, the ones away on official business remained away. So Shen Qingqiu's arrival, being a member of the older generation, was undoubtedly a powerful calming agent. The disciples immediately gained confidence. Mingfan was the first to yell, "Demoness! My master is here now! Let's see if you dare be so arrogant." More and more people gathered. Several hundred disciples in robes of the same color with furious expressions surrounded the invaders, trapping them within the hall. Several demons wanted to use the chance to break through, perfect for Shen Qingqiu to use as training. He casually grabbed them, lifted them up, and threw them back to Xia Hualing's feet. Xia Hualing had always been clever and resourceful. Her arrogance before was because of Kangchong Mountain Sect's defenses, due to having long been the #1 sect, were lax and loose, plus she'd seen that Shen Yuan was out on official business, leaving Chongding Peak without one of the senior generation to guard it. Sensing things weren't good now, she immediately changed her tune. My people's ascending the mountain this time was never for the sake of battle. It was just that we've long heard that Kangchong Mountain produces great numbers of talent, so we were curious and wanted to ascend the mountain to exchange pointers and investigate. Shen Qingqiu waved his fan while saying, "How kind of you. But since it's to exchange pointers, why come when the sect leader is away to do it? Why sever the rainbow bridges and injure so many of our sect's disciples? I've never seen this method of exchanging pointers." Xia Hualing bit her lip and utilized that weapon exclusive to young girls. She lifted a stray of hair from her cheek and slowly said, "This must be the one whose name moves the world, the Zhuya sword, Senior Shen Qingqiu. As expected, hearsay cannot compare to seeing the real person. Ling Er is young and unable to manage her subordinates properly. If we have offended you or caused misunderstandings, we beg this immortal master to be magnanimous and forgiving." No matter how softly she spoke, Shen Qingqiu still wouldn't be moved the slightest bit. No one was clearer than him about what was behind this situation. To say how it really was, this trouble had happened because Xia Hualing had just been granted the title of a demon saintess. Being proud and arrogant, she'd exaggerated her opinion of her own abilities and wanted to slaughter into Kangchong Mountain's first peak in one go, seize Chongding Hall's inscription as a trophy of war, and bring it back as proof of her achievement. At the same time, it would be a demonstration of force towards the human realm. Shen Qingqiu said, "Then what is young Mrs. conclusion now?" Xia Hualing pursed her lips while smiling and said, "Though right now my people are at a disadvantage, that is only because your sect has great numbers. Ling Er is unable to arrive at a definite conclusion." Shen Qingqiu put on the airs of an elder as smoothly as a fish took to water and said, "Oh? Then what do you need to arrive at a conclusion?" Xia Hualing parted her red lips and elegantly spoke a method that seemed fair and just. "Why don't we each choose 3 representatives and hold 3 matches?" This method was rather good. After all, currently the human realm and demon race had maintained an uneasy balance for many years, and had yet to drop pretenses. Hastily wiping out Xia Hualing and her mob wasn't impossible, but would light a fuse. The demons would definitely not let her be wiped out in vain, and would stir up an even greater conflict. It wasn't worth it. Simply letting them go would also generate too many grievances. They couldn't allow a foreign people to come and go as they pleased in Chongding Peak. By setting up conditions and holding some matches, teaching the other party a lesson, both parties could back down and save some face. That was the best way to handle this. Since this was a small climax in the original work, Shen Qingqiu still remembered it fairly clearly. The first match, Shen Qingqiu versus the demon Elder Single Arm. To highlight Shen Qingqiu's scummy nature, he, of course, had needed to use despicable and underhanded means to achieve victory. By comparing it with Luo Binghe's honorable and upright actions in the third match afterwards, a strong contrast would be generated for the readers. And here, Shen Qingqiu was not going to tarnish his own image so pointlessly. Elder Single Arm's entire body was a dark purple color. He was taciturn and reticent. Upon hearing Xia Hualing's command, he walked forward to an area of open ground. The sect's disciples were all cheering and shouting for their Shen Shibo. Shen Qingqiu knew the extent of this elder single arm's strength, and while smiling, said, "You only have one arm. Even if I defeat you like this, it would be due to an unfair advantage." Xia Hualing said from behind her hand, "Oh? Actually, Ling Er has a method. How about this immortal master also sever an arm? That way there won't be an unfair advantage anymore." Angry voices rose around them. Shen Qingqiu was unconcerned, smiling slightly, and slowly spread his fan. "I won't even use a single hand. How about that?" Damn, raising the stakes. That is the end of chapter 10. What a place to stop. Hello, T. Corinne and other folks who've joined us. Chapter 11. Backstabbing the male lead, number 2. As soon as the words were said, everyone was in an uproar. Within the crowd, Luo Binghe also stood in shock. Wouldn't use a single hand? Xia Hualing snorted, thinking this was Shen Qingqiu being full of himself, but was secretly filled with endless glee. That they could win a match this easily, why wouldn't they go for it? She hurriedly said, "Since Senior Shen has already said so, let us start." Quite a few bystanders thought this girl's face really was extremely thick-skinned. Even though her manner was pure and innocent, her words were vicious and sinister, and she rushed to take advantage of others. When reading, as a reader enjoying the drama, Shen Qingqiu had one impression. Now, as an insider within the situation, he had another. Luckily, he'd never been able to tolerate Xia Hualing's way of dealing with things, but having seen that she was young, and adding on her daintiness, he'd been able to force himself to regard it as a young girl's cute willfulness. Under the gaze of many, Shen Qingqiu indeed followed his words and didn't draw his sword, but played with the fan in his hand, smiling at Elder Single-Arm. Elder Single-Arm only had one arm, but it didn't hinder him from swinging his guito? Gonna Google that real quick. It's a special type of knife. I'm just going to... I think it's Gotao? I'm just gonna call it knife. It's a knife. It didn't hinder him from swinging his knife the slightest bit. But this savage swing of his actually didn't hit his target. He turned around and Shen Qingqiu was already standing somewhere else, still smiling, to the point his face was sore. However, Shu Ya had already left its sheath. Shen Qingqiu had not directly touched his sword at all. Only his left hand had secretly formed a sword seal, commanding Shu Ya to fly and turn over and brandish itself. Elder Single-Arm's eyes were in pain from the flashes of the sword's snow-white gleam. He rushed to lift his knife and attacked again. Knife and sword clashed, and instantly ringing noises sounded incessantly, while sparks sprayed and danced. The crowd was unable to turn their eyes away. In reality, this was just a competition, but could be said to be captivating. The first captivating and captivating. There's captions there. The first captivating was due to how impressive the fight was, using real weapons, a matter of life and death. The second captivating referred to the magnificent effects, especially Shen Qingqiu moving skillfully and easily with a pure and literary air, the glint and flash of blades streaking about. He could still gracefully and leisurely wave his paper fan, as if at any instant he could improvise a poem within 7 steps. This style, how incredibly breathtaking. No, to be able to act cool to this level was too perfect. Luo Binghe watched until his heart was practically galloping, his soul tremoring. He'd known Shen Qingqiu was incredible, but he'd never anticipated he was this incredible. So strong. You can see the moment he has his little gay awakening. Surrounded by the cheers of the sex disciples, Shen Qingqiu obtained a complete victory for the first match. At this moment, Shen Qingqiu could understand why the original goods had clung to acting cool like it was his lifeline. It really was too gratifying. The crowd of disciples' gazes formed a sea of sparkling stars. Shen Qingqiu felt how inspiring this experience of his was. A scum villain could also gain reputation points. At the same time, the system sent good news. Demonic invasion of Immortal Mountain. First match of the competition, Shen Qingqiu's victory. Martial ability rating, plus 50. Beat points, plus 50. Shen Qingqiu's pleased smile hadn't lasted very long when the system's next news gave him a slap. System alert. If Luo Binghe does not participate in the competition, the protagonist's satisfaction points will be deducted by 1,000. What? The completely unprepared Shen Qingqiu turned pale with shock. The satisfaction points he'd earned, huffing and puffing like an old ox dragging a broken cart, were only in the 300s, and in an instant he'd be deducted with 1,000? System, you trying to kill people? This competition was an important part of the plot. At the same time, it was also responsible for being a small early-stage climax, debuting 2 female leads and pitting their splendor against each other, getting an underling, getting a secret technique, important things like that. If Luo Binghe could not make it on stage here, he would miss the limelight and be unable to grab everyone's attention, so satisfaction points, minus 1,000. But if Shen Qingqiu made him a sect representative and sent him out to battle, what would he be doing? The original goods could push Luo Binghe onto the battlefield because he was shameless. He didn't care about the sect's reputation. He hated Luo Binghe to the bone, enough to use the hands of demons to torture him. But Shen Qingqiu now didn't meet any of those 3 points. At the end of everything, why must someone else be responsible for the dignified protagonist's satisfaction points? Shen Qingqiu was still angrily rebuking the system for being unscientific when the time for the second match to begin came. Xia Hualing was afraid Shen Qingqiu would fight all 3 matches and quickly said, if the same person enters all 3 matches, it would lose the meaning of exchanging pointers. My people's participant for the second match will be me. For her to enter first, it was of course because she believed in her own strength. Second was because she thought Shen Qingqiu probably wouldn't use his position as a senior to bully a junior. Shen Qingqiu didn't want to pay any attention to her thoughts at all and demonstrated so, even if he'd originally had the ambition to fight all 3 matches, to earn martial ability points and reputation. After hearing the system's notification, it had wilted. However, the second match also had an impressive gimmick worth watching. Shen Qingqiu said, "You've all heard her words. Who is willing to bear this heavy duty?" Even though he was asking all the disciples in their sect, his gaze fell on a certain region. Within that region stood graceful female disciples. Without a doubt, they were Shen Peak's disciples. Within this group of pretty girls, each fairer, more beautiful, and more refined than the last, there was one person who, inharmoniously, wore a veil. Right after Shen Qingqiu asked this question, this person slowly came out. Shen Qingqiu felt a difficult-to-control burst of excitement. "It's here! It'll soon be here! The 2 big female leads in the book! Their first fight!" Luo Binghe was a great beauty, a heaven and earth-shattering great beauty at which gods and ghosts would weep. Even though she belonged to Shen Peak, which had produced generations of beautiful women since ancient times, her existence was still a crane among chickens, above and beyond them all. Her older brother was Baijian Peak's master, but because she was younger, she'd entered the sect later and became a disciple of Shen Peak's next generation. Because her face was excessively beautiful, capable of stealing souls, she had to hide her face with a veil all year round, like a flower on a high cliff, unattainable and out of reach. The brother they're referring to is Luo Binghe, the guy that he just saved in the cave. In brief, for the purpose of describing this character's appearance, Master Airplane shooting towards the sky had probably used all the flattering vocabulary and idioms he'd learned from elementary to high school. It must have been very difficult for him. Shen Qingqiu was very fond of this female lead, and it wasn't only because Luo Binghe's beauty points were the highest. It was because this woman had great poise, understood the whole picture, grasped the general situation, and her conduct was fair and honest. Within Luo Binghe's gigantic harem, it was rare to have a wife with both intelligence and moral character. There was one more point. Luo Binghe was the only female character for whom Airplane shooting towards the sky didn't write detailed sex scenes, even though many readers were very unsatisfied with this arrangement, to the point they spammed the comments with ranting. This also gave Luo Binghe something no other female lead had, an image as clear as ice and pure as jade. Can't be helped, the unobtainable ones would always be the best. What made this battle worth watching was this point. If there was an evil demonic girl, naturally there would be a just holy one. Every man has dreamed of being caught between an angel and a devil, to watch them being jealous of each other over himself one instant, and then willing to risk life and limb over him the next, was every male's organism's highest, most fantasized over sacred scene. You had to say Great Master Airplane was really good at grasping what people found gratifying. Shen Qingqiu couldn't help giving Luo Binghe another glance. Luo Binghe found it very hard to not care about his gaze. Why exactly did Shen Qingqiu keep paying attention to him? Could it really be that Shizun minded him this much? A pity. Under Great Master Airplane shooting towards the sky's pen, battles between female characters, other than ripping clothes for the male gaze, there was usually nothing impressive worth watching. No, actually, if one thought about it, under his pen, none of the battles were worth watching, because it was always the same phrases like flash of white light, a rainbow of colors, multicolored sword glares, so horrific. Several incensed times later, Luo Binghe lost. After all, at this time, she hadn't gone to Wanjian Peak to find her personal sword. Even though she did her utmost, her weapon was only a thin, ordinary sword, while Xia Hualing was already a demon saintess. Saintly weapons hung all over her body, so there was a natural gap between their abilities. Luo Binghe walked over to Shen Qingqiu. "This disciple lost. For failing the mission, I request Shen Shibo's punishment." Shen Qingqiu said, "When no one else would come forward, you assumed the responsibility. This was already not easy. Whether you obtained victory or defeat, both would have been within expectations, so you need not be concerned, and only need to win it back in the future." Having taken a round, Xia Hualing's face was glowing and laughed delicately while saying, "This match is the round that will decide the victor. I wonder who Senior Shen will send out. This time you must choose carefully." Shen Qingqiu stood with his hands clasped behind his back and said with a profound air, "Young miss need not worry. This one has long decided on a person and can guarantee that no matter if he wins or loses, this person will become your life's bane." Xia Hualing took these words as him trying to scare her, and clapping her hands said, "Which brave warrior will come out for the third match?" From the crowd of demons, a giant elder slowly walked out. Calling him giant was because he really was too tall, definitely more than 10 feet tall. With a build like that of a bear or a tiger's, a head of disheveled hair, armor that covered him from head to toe with spikes, dragging a giant iron hammer, Shen Qingqiu felt like the ground tremored lightly with every step he took. Xia Hualing gleefully said, "First, to give everyone from the Immortal Mountain a warning. The spikes on Elder Skyhammer's armor are coated with a highly toxic poison. This poison is ineffective against demons, but if a human is pierced, there is no cure." The first feeling this sentence gave Shen Qingqiu was, shit. Great master airplane shooting towards the sky. Don't just name things however you please without any thought. Calling the one with the only arm, Elder Single Arm. Calling the one whose weapon was a giant hammer, Elder Sky Hammer. Are you afraid of naming things properly? Meanwhile, from the bystanders, it triggered a wave of rage. Shitty demoness. If you want to compete, then compete. To use poison? How can you say that's fair? Xia Hualing retorted, "I didn't conceal this information. If you think it's unfair or are afraid of losing your life to the poison, give up the match and admit defeat. Then you won't need to compete anymore. Us demons won't mock humans. After all, you value your lives, and such is human nature. But my people value glory over everything else." Amidst the demons' roaring laughter and the disciples' cries of condemnation, Shen Qingqiu rubbed between his brows and slightly sighed. A woman like Xia Hualing, when seen from the reader's perspective, where they could bring in the fantasy of being the protagonist, would of course be loved and found gratifying by thousands. But once they became a person next to her in reality, he didn't believe anyone could bring themselves to like her. It wasn't because there was a difference from how she was described within the book. In reality, the problem was she was too close to it. A cruel and vicious personality, along with an infatuation where she threw her brain away. If you weren't the protagonist, better hurry to stay away. The moment you threatened a tiny bit of her or Luo Binghe's interest, she'd immediately want your life without even a chance of other punishments like chopping off your hands or feet or gouging out your eyes instead. Even if you were her father, you'd have to be careful. In the original work, to help Luo Binghe gain standing in the demon realm, wasn't the one she backstabbed her own father? Shen Qingqiu remained unaffected by Xia Hualing's provocation and left a stretch of silence, using the time to pressure the crowd of demons. Only at the end did he turn around, fixing his gaze in a certain person's direction. "Luo Binghe, you come out." Who could have thought? I love the fact that the whole time he is thinking about, oh man, these two beautiful women are about to fight, and Luo Binghe has a romantic relationship with possibly both of them. I can't wait to see what happens. And he's paying attention to Luo Binghe, and the whole time Luo Binghe's like, I didn't know Shizun liked me this much. Oh my god, he's looking at me. He's so powerful. It's great. This book is just so funny on so many levels. Alright, one more chapter. Chapter 12. Favor Farming Frenzy. Qingjing Peak's group of disciples immediately fell into an uproar. The disciples from the other branches thought it was fine, as they were not familiar with Qingjing Peak's situation. They even thought Shen Qingqiu would definitely send a disciple he was proud of, an unparalleled talent. Only that way could they face this demon elder that appeared to be in his hundreds. It was just strange they'd never heard of this person, and when looking at him, he seemed rather young. Could Qingjing Peak's group not be clear about Luo Binghe's abilities? Mingfan's face had gone white, and he stammered, Shizun, to send this little send Luo Shidi, doesn't it seem unfitting? Oh, then you go? Mingfan shook his head multiple times, even though he didn't want to enter and was happy to let Luo Binghe get beaten up. This concerned their sex reputation. To let others invade the mountain and take their inscription, along with losing the competition, Kangchong Mountain would lose face, and Qingjing Peak even more, would lose a massive amount of face. Ning Yingying was even more anxious, to the point she was tearing up. Acting in defiance, she grabbed Luo Binghe's arm while stomping and yelling, "No, no, no!" Luo Binghe had no real battle experience. A demon elder covered from head to toe with spikes and poison, with that hammer weighing at least several hundred jin. He'd definitely be beaten to death like this. "You lot think I want him to enter? I was forced into this! I have no choice!" Shen Qingqiu said, "I said let him enter, so let him enter. Are you unsatisfied with this master's decision? Ying, let go of him." Aw, welcome, welcome to the stream, Delvin. Thank you for the donation. Not welcome for the donate. No, it's not how I meant that to come out. Hello. Let's see, where are we? Ning Yingying saw that her master's face had become stony and knew there was nothing she could do. Luo Binghe patted her soothingly. Even though his face was stark white, he said in a steady voice, "Don't worry, Shiji. Even though I won't be useful, since Shizun has sent me out, I will definitely spare no effort. Even if I must stake my life, I won't lose face for the sect." Ning Yingying rubbed away her tears and let go of Luo Binghe's arm. As if she couldn't stand to stay here and watch her crush take a beating, she stomped her feet several times and ran off, whimpering. Shen Qingqiu was overjoyed. Good, run! If she ran, then the trouble she'd have made after this drama will also be gone. The crowd saw that although the youth who came out was upright and honorable in body and spirit, with good potential and foundation, a single glance showed he was a young disciple with shallow cultivation. In contrast, Elder Skyhammer, sent by the demons... Yes? Hello?
Where are you?
I'm over here. What's up? Who's there? Oh, sorry, I didn't realize.
Oh, okay. Where are you?
So, just to warn you, I'm recording. Yeah, you could just set him right there. Thank you. That was my sister. Okay. Where were we? Thank you again, Delvin. That's very kind of you. And hello, Marco. Hey, Jonathan. Alright, where we were with Elder Demon... In contrast, the Elder Skyhammer sent by the demons, standing there with his bear-like build, when compared with Luo Binghe's still developing figure, radiated an impressive air, his entire body emitting dark, roiling demonic chi. Everyone had some hesitations, while some conjectured perhaps Luo Binghe was hiding his strength. But when the fight started, they were all speechless. What hiding his strength? He really wouldn't be able to beat him. This wasn't a match, but a one-sided beatdown. From the moment he stepped in, Luo Binghe essentially had no chance to strike. The Demon Elder had incomparable strength, his swings filled with the vigor of a tiger. Even though Luo Binghe did his best to dodge and search for an opening to attack through, from time to time the hammer managed to smash into him. Not only was Kangchong Mountain's side dumbstruck, the demon's side was also at a loss for words. This was too horrible. Someone quietly said, "Isn't this a definite loss? What's the point of the match?" Elder Skyhammer, laughed skyward, the sound like a great bell. "Ha! Well said! Little children should hurry up and admit defeat. Then this one can still spare your life." Shen Qingqiu lightly said, "He will win." Bullshit. He was the overpowered protagonist. Of course he'd win, just the path to victory would be difficult. His voice was neither high nor low, just enough to travel to the center of the match area. Luo Binghe had directly taken several blows and was holding back mouthfuls of blood within his chest. Upon hearing such confident words enter his ear, he somehow managed to swallow down the blood. He will win? Shizun had given him the chance to enter because he really thought he would win? The group of demons laughed and jeered, shouted at him to hurry up and admit defeat. Yet Luo Binghe did not follow their wishes. After taking several injuries in a row, he actually became more and more poised, turning a deaf ear to the jeers and shouts from without. His steps became lighter and more graceful. Elder Skyhammer's giant hammer could not even brush him 9 out of 10 times. The only places on Elder Skyhammer's body that weren't covered with spikes were his face and fist. This was not good news. This meant the two places had been trained extensively, and they wouldn't be at a disadvantage even without the protection of poisonous spikes. At the same time, this was also likely to be the only breach in his defenses. Luo Binghe slowed his breaths and attentively observed. For Shizun to pick him, though it seemed obvious he was making things difficult for him, conversely, if he lost this round, not only would Luo Binghe lose face, the entire sect would as well, and furthermore, the one who'd chosen to enter him, Shen Qingqiu, would be implicated. Shizun really did firmly believe he would win. Only then would he choose to enter him in the match. With student Luo Binghe's plentiful imagination, he successfully activated a massive misunderstanding system. No one had ever believed in him like this. If only because he'd been entrusted with something so audacious, he absolutely had to win so everyone could see. That huge hammer once again came whistling towards him. Luo Binghe's pupils shrank, and gathering energy within his palms, condensed his chi into an attack. Everyone watching had been captured by this youth who kept persevering without pause. Though Luo Binghe right then had no space to counterattack, he'd also never given up looking for a chance to do so, and furthermore refused to admit defeat. At this instant, the chance to counterattack came, and Luo Binghe also, with incomparable precision, grabbed onto his tail. After a deadlock that approached an hour, the third match finally came to a conclusion. Other than Shen Qingqiu, no one had anticipated this conclusion. Elder Skyhammer, who was covered from head to toe in poisonous spikes and had 100 years' worth of skill, had actually been defeated by a youth of 15 years. Sure enough, Liu Mingyan and Xia Hualing were drawn to Luo Binghe. 4 beautiful eyes gazed neatly over, fixing on Luo Binghe's form, unwilling to avert. Captured Liu Mingyan and Xia Hualing's attention, became famous in a fight during the battle with the demons invading Kangshong Mountain Sect. Protagonist satisfaction, plus 500. Shen Qingqiu was furious. How dare you? A deduction was 1,000, but an addition only 500? Black-hearted system. Double standards holding dog! However, it was fine. Right now, everyone was thinking the same thing. Luo Binghe, though young, was truly worthy of respect. Shen Qingqiu was truly beyond comprehension. Xia Hualing held herself back for a long while, then finally squeezed out a line. Kangshong Mountain is truly full of talent, producing generations of young heroes. Ling Er is truly impressed. Shen Qingqiu said, well said, well said. Since the match already has a result, could the young miss withdraw your people? Excuse Kangshong Mountain for being such a mess right now. We're unable to entertain guests from far away. Thank you, Ice Blaze. I will make sure to give Gandalf treats after the video. Or, after the reading. I won't just say I'm going to give treats and then end the video. That would be dumb. Okay. The hitting meaning within his words, well, they weren't even hitting. Him doing this was a direct command telling them to get out. Xia Hualing was filled with anger, but there was nowhere for it to go. Her fingers wrung at the red gauzy cloth on her body for a while. Then she suddenly exploded. She reached out and fiercely gave Elder Skyhammer a fast and violent slap, her sweet voice saying angrily, "To face off against Senior Shen's young disciple, yet lose so badly? You've completely lost face for the demon race." Elder Skyhammer was also pitiful. Ranks within the demon world were strict, and Xia Hualing was a saint of noble birth. He took the slap, yet could only be obsequious, not daring to fight back, only to repeatedly say, "This subordinate is incompetent and begs the saintess for punishment." Shen Qingqiu couldn't stand watching anymore. "Miss Xia, if you wish to discipline your subordinates, please go somewhere else to do so. Chongding Peak is not a place for nobles to throw their weight around." With that slap, Xia Hualing had vented her anger, finally releasing some of her resentment. She turned back, full of smiles, and said, "As Senior Shen says, it was just, when Ling Er saw the incredible young talent beneath you and then looked at the trash beneath me, my heart was filled with disappointment, so I lost control for a moment, begging Senior not to laugh." She then turned, facing Elder Skyhammer with the expression of a stepmother, one as cold as a refrigerator. For Elder Single Arm to lose to Senior Shen in their confrontation was a matter of course. Yet you also lost your match. There's no need for me to say anything. Figure out yourself what to do. What this figure out yourself what to do meant, of course, Elder Skyhammer could not be clearer about. His heart half-chilled on the spot. Originally, he'd thought everyone on Chongding Peak other than Shen Qingqiu were only a bunch of half-grown children, disciples with shallow cultivation. He'd wanted to take advantage of easy pickings to earn achievements before the new saintess. He'd never thought he'd have a terrible fall instead to the point where he'd lose his life. He glanced over and saw Luo Binghe surrounded by a crowd, asking concerningly after his well-being, and malice surged within him. He didn't dare touch Shen Qingqiu, but this little child who'd brought him so much misfortune, he absolutely had to make him bear the blame with him, drag him along to their deaths together. Shen Qingqiu had especially been paying attention to the group of demons' every movement and expression. Of course he hadn't missed the flash of ill intent in Elder Skyhammer's eyes, but demons were truly a bold race, taking action immediately without the slightest of buffering time. Only a second after coming up with the idea, he rushed forward while swinging his hammer. Elder Skyhammer's body was large and tall, and quickly closed the distance, like a mountain of metal hurtling towards Luo Binghe. Luo Binghe's injuries weren't light, and so his movements were slow. It looked like he would be smashed into. Yet Shen Qingqiu coldly giving a humph was heard, his figure suddenly appearing in a flash, and the tip of his fan gave a single tap to the bend of Elder Skyhammer's knee. Elder Skyhammer fell to his knees on the spot. He really fell to his knees! His entire body crashed to the ground, unconscious. Shen Qingqiu casually scooped up the giant hammer and held it in his hand, weighing it. As expected, it was a tad heavy. However, with the elegant temperament of his image, holding a giant hammer was not his aesthetic at all, and so Shen Qingqiu immediately threw it into the group of demons. With a muffled thud, the head of the hammer slammed into the ground, the display significantly shocking, his intimidating air becoming even more terrifying. Shen Qingqiu's smile didn't reach his eyes. You wanted to kill him? I won't give you any chance to bully my disciples. When he spoke these words with awe-inspiring righteousness, not only were the demons at a loss for words, even Shen Qingqiu felt that within himself his face reddened slightly. Immortal Master, weren't you the one who sent the disciple out to be abused? Luo Binghe watched the teal cloth back before him, having forgotten to even say thanks. He only knew Shizun had saved him yet again. Shizun was always like this. It would look like he was harsh on him, yet when it came to the most critical moment, he'd always stand before him. Shen Qingqiu threw a glance behind him. Are you all right? Let's guiltily try and gather some favor points. Luo Binghe rushed to say, This disciple is fine. Many thanks to Shizun for the rescue. This child is so foolishly sweet. It caused Shen Qingqiu's face within to grow even redder. He quickly turned back and said to Sha Hualing, Miss Sha, you need to properly discipline your subordinates. If you can't stand losing, why initially set the deal of using 3 matches? Sha Hualing also hadn't predicted the attack just now was going to happen and was slightly embarrassed. She was just about to say a couple of perfunctory words appropriate for the situation when at that instant, an abnormality no one saw coming occurred. Elder Skyhammer, who'd been lying motionless on the ground, suddenly jumped up and relentlessly threw himself at Luo Binghe a second time. Dun dun dun! Alright, that's an hour, so we'll stop there. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. I will be back soon with more chapters. We'll be doing readings on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, probably around 3 o'clock. It might vary a little bit day to day. I will post on Discord the day of whenever it's going to be reading time. Next time, we'll finish the Silmarillion so that we can knock that out of the way. And then we'll be alternating between Scumbag System, Scum Villain, Heaven Official's Blessing, and another book that I'm going to let members choose. We'll figure out what that is for later. We will finish watching the cartoon anime show of this probably this weekend, and we'll watch the first episode of the Heaven Official Blessing donghua, which finally came out on Halloween, which was I'm so excited about that. It looks great. Before we go, I gotta give Gandalf his treats, so let me get those. Come here, kitty. He was actually sitting at his food bowl, so he hungry. Here, you want some foods? Come here. Say, I don't know about this. I don't know about this, Ma. You're not even on camera. Say, I don't know. Maybe? This is weird, Mom. This is not how you usually feed me. Sorry, kitty. We're all out of other treats. I'll have to get you some. Say, I don't think I eat like this. I don't think so. You've been very cute. He's been climbing all over my back all during this read. I don't know what you thought you were doing. Did you get jealous of Shen Qingqiu up there? Say, that's where the kitty goes, not the plushie. Well, thank you guys for watching. If you like what I do and you want to support it, become a member. You can get bonus content, access to my books, all kinds of things. I'm also probably going to start a way for folks to download videos and have them, if you're a member. I haven't set that up yet, but that was an idea I had, so I'm going to work on that. You can't even see my friggin' face, I just realized. There we go. Look in the description for ways to support the channel and follow me elsewhere, and I will see you guys in like an hour-ish for video game Fire Emblem Awakening. See if it's gonna work. Try it out. I will see you guys next time. Bye. Gandalf, you're in the way. I can't see. I can't see, kitty. There it is.